She slammed her palm on my gate and shouted, "Open this right now. I have authority here." But I didn't move an inch. I just stood there, staring at her, calm and quiet. Because I knew exactly who was listening on the other end of her 911 call. It was a bright Saturday morning in our quiet neighborhood in Georgia. My wife, Nia, was inside, helping our little girl with homework. I was fixing the mailbox when that woman, Karen from the HOA, came marching up the driveway, sunglasses on, holding a clipboard like she owned the street. She pointed at my car. "This vehicle violates HOA Code 3B. You can't park here." I wiped my hands and said, "That's my driveway." She leaned closer, her voice sharp. "Not if you're not registered with the association." I smiled slightly. "Ma'am, I own this house. Been here 6 years." Her face twitched. "No, you rent." I checked the records. That was a lie. She had no records. She just wanted control. And when I didn't move my car like she ordered, she pulled out her phone, eyes flashing. "I'm calling 911. Let's see what happens when the police arrive." I shrugged. "Go ahead." Her voice cracked through the quiet morning. "Yes, there's a suspicious man refusing to comply. He's being aggressive." Aggressive? I hadn't moved an inch. I could hear Nia's voice faintly through the window. She'd heard the call too. She worked as a 911 dispatcher. My dispatcher. Karen kept talking, glancing at me with this fake scared expression. "He's threatening me. He's yelling, he looks dangerous." I crossed my arms and waited. She didn't know the voice she was crying to for help belonged to the woman inside this very house. When she hung up, she smirked. "You'll regret this. My friends in the department take HOA violations seriously." I tilted my head slightly. "You sure about that?" She turned away, pacing like she'd already won. But if she had listened closely, she would have heard a soft chuckle from inside my house, coming from the dispatcher, who had just received her fake emergency call. And Nia, she was already recording. 10 minutes later, 2 police cruisers rolled into the street, lights flashing. Neighbors peeked from their windows, some even stepping onto their porches to watch. Karen straightened her jacket, like she was the one in charge. She waved her arms, pointing right at me. "That's him," she shouted. "He threatened me and refused to move his car. He's been harassing me for weeks." One of the officers stepped out, a tall man with a serious face. He looked at me, then at her. "Ma'am, did he touch you or threaten you in any way?" Karen put a hand to her chest dramatically. "He lunged at me." I felt unsafe. I didn't say anything. Just stood there, calm, hands visible. I'd seen enough of these situations to know, talking too early only helps the liar. Then one of the officers' radios buzzed. "Unit 21, this is dispatch. Be advised, this call was flagged for possible false reporting. Proceed with caution." Karen's expression froze. What did she say?" The officer frowned, looking slightly confused. "Who's dispatch on this one?" Inside my house, Nia was watching the live feed from our porch cameras. She had already logged the call, attached the footage, and marked it suspected harassment. Her voice came through the radio, steady and professional. "Unit 21, the homeowner is on his own property. Caller appears to be part of the HOA. There's no visible threat on camera. Proceed calmly." Karen's mouth dropped open. "Camera? What camera?" I finally spoke, pointing up to the corner of the roof. "The one that's been recording this whole thing." The officers exchanged glances. The taller one walked toward me. "Sir, you're the homeowner." "Yes, sir. Everything's recorded. You can review it." Karen's fake confidence cracked. "This is absurd. He's lying. You don't know who I am." The officer turned slowly toward her. "Ma'am, we'll find out soon enough. But first, I'm going to need to see your ID." She hesitated. My ID. I don't need to show you anything. I'm with the HOA. He raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, that's not law enforcement. Please produce identification. Her hands trembled slightly. You're making a mistake. My brother works for the county. I couldn't help the small smile that crossed my face. I'd heard that bluff before. But the real twist. Nia wasn't just a dispatcher, she was also married to the man whose property deed had just been sent, in real time, to the police database. And in 30 seconds, the truth was about to hit Karen harder than any fine or HOA letter ever could. The taller officer stepped aside, listening to his radio again. Nia's calm voice came through clearly this time, filling the quiet tension of the street. Unit 21, confirmation received. Property is owned by Mr. Carter, full name, Daniel Carter. Title under his name since 2019. No HOA. Claim registered to that address. Karen blinked fast. That's not possible. The officer looked back at her. Ma'am, do you have any paperwork proving otherwise? She fumbled with her clipboard, flipping through papers. I don't have it with me, but I know what I saw. This neighborhood has rules he doesn't follow. I leaned against the fence, still calm. You mean rules you make up, right? Her face twisted. You think you can talk to me like that? Just talking, ma'am, I said evenly. Not yelling. Not threatening. Just talking. The second officer approached, holding up his body cam. Everything's recorded. And it's matching what dispatch is saying, he hasn't done anything wrong. Karen's breathing grew shallow. She wasn't used to being questioned. Usually, she barked orders and people obeyed. But this time, the scene wasn't going her way. Then the officer's radio buzzed again. Dispatch here, be advised, caller made 2 previous false reports in this area. Both unverified. Karen's eyes widened. That's a lie. Who said that? I smirked slightly. Your voice did, ma'am. The calls are logged. One of the officers took a step closer. Ma'am. I'm going to ask you again, did this man threaten or touch you in any way? She hesitated, her mouth opening and closing. No. But he looked aggressive. The officer sighed. That's not a crime. Neighbors began filming. Phones lifted everywhere. Karen's fake authority was unraveling, one shaky breath at a time. She turned to me suddenly, lowering her voice. You think you've won? You don't know who I can call. Oh, I know exactly who you called, I said, tilting my head toward my front door. And she's on her way. Her brows furrowed. She. The officer's radio crackled once more. Dispatch to Unit 21, I'll be arriving shortly. I'm off shift, but this one's personal. Karen froze, confusion flickering into panic. Wait, your wife is the dispatcher. I nodded slowly. And she doesn't like liars. Karen took a step back, her voice shaking now. You set me up. No, I said quietly. You did that yourself. 5 minutes later, Nia's car pulled up to the curb, no sirens. No uniform, just her steady presence. She stepped out calmly, wearing jeans and a plain black shirt. But the air around her shifted instantly. The officers straightened up when they saw her. Karen squinted, confused. Who are you supposed to be? Nia held up her ID wallet. 911 dispatch supervisor, Fulton County. And wife of the man you just tried to have arrested. Karen's mouth fell open. Why your husband? You can't be serious. Oh, I'm very serious. Nia walked closer, her voice low but sharp. You made a false emergency call. You described my husband as a threat. You said he lunged at you. We have full audio and video proof that he didn't move from his spot. Karen stepped back, stuttering. I thought, he looked suspicious. I was just protecting the neighborhood. Nia crossed her arms. From what? A man fixing his mailbox. You know how many real emergencies get delayed because of calls like yours? The officer stayed quiet. One of them subtly turned his body cam toward Karen, catching every word. Karen's confidence cracked completely. This is harassment. You're all working together. I'm calling the HOA president. I cut her off. Already did. Her head snapped toward me. What? I pulled out my phone and hit play. A recorded voicemail echoed through the street. This is the HOA president. That woman doesn't speak for us. We've had multiple complaints about her behavior. Karen's face turned red. The crowd of neighbors whispered among themselves. Phones were still recording. Every second of her humiliation going viral before it even hit the internet. Nia took a deep breath and turned to the officers. You have what you need. The tall officer nodded. Yes, ma'am. Based on evidence, this looks like false reporting and harassment. Karen's voice wavered. You can't do this to me. I was just enforcing the rules. The rules. Nia repeated softly. The rule that says you can trespass on private property and make fake police calls. Because if that's the HOA rule, I'll make sure the county reviews it. Karen's eyes darted around. She tried to grab her phone, but the officer gently stopped her hand. Ma'am, I'm afraid you're coming with us. Her whole body went still. Arrested. For what? For lying, I said quietly. She glared at me with pure hatred, her voice shaking. You don't deserve to live here. Nia's eyes narrowed. He earned this house. And he earned his peace. You don't get to take that from him. Karen was handcuffed beside her clipboard, her fake power gone in seconds. But what no one expected was what Nia did next. Nia didn't raise her voice or gloat. She just stood there, looking at Karen with a calm that made everyone go silent. The police guided Karen toward the cruiser. But before she got in, Nia said softly, you should be careful who you try to destroy. Sometimes the people you call the enemy are the ones who protect you every day. Karen froze, her mouth trembling. Like she wanted to speak but couldn't. The neighborhood was quiet. Except for the faint hum of the patrol car's engine. Phones were still recording. Some neighbors whispered things like, good for them, and, about time someone stood up to her. As the car pulled away, I turned to Nia. You didn't have to come down here. She smiled faintly. I did. She needed to see that we don't hide anymore. I nodded, watching the car disappear around the corner. You know she'll try to talk her way out of it. She can try, Nia said, sliding her arm around mine. But the system she tried to abuse just caught her. For the first time that day, the street felt peaceful again. The same driveway where Karen had screamed minutes ago now felt like ours again, quiet, free, and safe. Later that evening, a few neighbors came by. One of them, an older man who'd seen the whole thing, said, you handled that better than I ever could. Took guts to stay calm. I smiled. Sometimes silence hits harder than shouting. When everyone left, Nia and I sat on the porch, watching our daughter chase fireflies in the yard. The same yard Karen claimed we didn't belong in. I looked at Nia. Crazy day, huh? She laughed softly. Just another shift, babe. I shook my head. You know. When she called 911, she thought she was calling for backup. Nia looked at me with that calm grin. And she did. Just not the kind she expected. We both laughed quietly, the sound rolling through the night air. For once, it felt like justice didn't need to be loud, it just needed to be true. She called 911 to ruin my life. But the woman who answered was my wife.